And go. What's up, guys? We are back with episode 2 of what you guys have dubbed the Freak Show, the first official spin-off in the Large Lads universe. Shout out to Max, Sam, King Kong Klong. Y'all keep doing your thing. I'm here with my co-host Ty. And Ty, how much do you bench press?
I saw this on the topic list. I was not a fan.
We actually have a topic list. Ty's holding me accountable. Y'all know I am not one to put a lot of effort into my videos, but we're going a little bit farther. But anyway, what do you bench, Ty?
I probably bench, not something that I max out often just because I'm a strong man.
Cope.
Yes, we're coping right now. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 265 to 285.
And what kind of vehicle do you drive, Ty?
And I drive a 2018 Chevy Silverado 1500 lifted on 33s.
There you go. I bench press somewhere in the mid 400s at the moment. And I drive a 2006 Toyota Prius. So anyway, our question for you guys this week is what do you drive and how much do you bench press? We're trying to get some data on small cars versus big bench presses. Obviously, we're kind of I guess we would be N equals 2 here, so there are 2 of us, but that's probably not how formulas work. Anyway, what do you drive? How much do you bench press? Speaking of bench press, how's your training going this week, Ty?
My training's going good. I just got off of a deload. I'm in my long off season from strongman competing, so very bodybuilding heavy right now. So just getting back into it after deload. I feel like every time you come off a deload that first week, you're like, I feel worse. Like I feel 10 times worse than when I did this.
Now, to clarify, are you coming off like a true deload where you trained all week, or like you kind of half-ass trained a day or 2 and then took some time away from the gym?
So the way that I run my deloads are, I got this from Dr. Mike, I did not think of this, is the first half of the week, it is half the sets, half the reps. The second half of the week is half sets, half reps, half weight.
Okay.
So it's just...
So you were at the gym training, because a lot of people say, oh, I took a deload, and it just means they left and didn't come to the gym for a week.
No, I went to the gym.
Okay.
I did go, I made all my sessions, but yeah, I don't know. I always... Every time I take a deload, during the deload, I don't know if you experience this, I'm always like, I have like crazy DOMs during my deload when I'm not doing anything. And just like randomly, I'll be like sitting at work and I'm like, my quads are sore. What is going on? And it's like I did barely any chest the day before. So I always have that, and then the week after my deload, I feel terrible. And then second week after is like, I feel amazing and I'm starting to like hit numbers that I never did before. So I don't know if it's some sort of like super compensation, like delayed onset, whatever.
Right.
But going good, getting pumps. I'm normally not a fan of bodybuilding training. I like heavy weights.
Bodybuilding's boring.
It's boring. It just doesn't get you excited in the morning.
Yeah,
but last year I was able to put on some good weight in the off season, and it transferred over to getting stronger. So trying to do the same thing again.
You've been looking jacked. Like, I've seen your posts on Instagram. Man's over here.
Dude.
What, you compete 175?
Yeah, 175.
And you do not look like you compete at 175 anymore.
I walk around, like right now I walk around at like 185. So I do a 10-pound water cut. Right now I'm cutting a little weight.
He's walking around at 185 with abs, by the way, and water cutting to 175.
Yeah. So yeah, it was it worked. We'll just say that
right,
the long off
clearly
season worked last year.
Clearly.
So trying to replicate that and just continue to fill out the weight class better. I mean, if you look at the guys that are competing at OSG, when they're do their water cut, they're shredded to the bone. So like I know I have more room before I have to move up to the 200-pound class. But yeah, training's going good. How's yours?
You know, last weekend was holiday weekend for us here in America, and I only trained last Monday before we did our first podcast, and it wasn't too bad. I pulled 545 for a double off wagon wheels. That's the first time I've repped anything mid 500s on a hinge in years. So, it was there. It felt okay. That was kind of, the highlight of it. And I haven't trained since, lifting wise, until this morning. My first day back at jiu-jitsu after a weekend full of s'mores and campfire hot dogs kicked my ass. Like, I didn't have it that first day back. But I did, jiu-jitsu wise, I was rolling with one of the blue belts. He had tapped me previously in our roll. But he's one of the ones that I mentioned previously. I can kind of manhandle sometimes because he doesn't hit the gym. And I had him in a nice, probably not technically sound, but a head and arm triangle in half guard. And I passed his guard to get into side control with it, and I was, ready to squeeze him. Even if technically it wasn't going to be there, like I would have squeezed him where it would have hurt. As soon as I passed this half guard into side control, Coach said, "All right, then it's time to go." And he probably did that on purpose. I haven't got to tap anybody yet. Still a white belt, still really new. And I was right there, and I knew and then as soon as I passed guard, he's like, "Then it's time to go." And I was like, "Oh, I thought I had it."
Gotta keep you humble, man.
Yeah. But so I've trained jiu-jitsu twice in the last week, but today had a great session today. Explosive. Started with some standing box jumps into some approach box jumps to some triple broad jumps. Then I did some snatches. I worked up to a heavy single. I was doing a complex, like a snatch and then into a hang snatch, and I failed at 185. First time I've done heavy snatches in probably like 6 or 7 years, and I've never done those consistently ever. Then I did some wagon wheel deadlifts against bands. That's been a staple of probably the last month or so. So I started at 365 and I worked up sets of 5 to 425, I think it was, and then I did 525 for a single, and then now is my reset session. So this time, instead of starting at 365, started at 385. Even forgot my belt on the first set, it didn't matter. And then I went into, this took me out, and y'all saw it on Instagram this morning, power clean complex with 205. So power clean off the ground into a jerk, into a hang clean, into a push press, into a hang clean, into a strict OHP. And I did 10 of those. And on the last one, I got 4 hang cleans in there and an extra jerk. So fun. Hope to get back to lifting more this week and get more consistent. Anyway, for those of you who are still around, let's get into a little bit of drama. Ty actually had this as an idea on our Google Doc about how productive or not productive is, YouTube drama.
Call out culture.
Yeah, watching the videos, etc. And amongst this, there happened to be some drama happening. I'm sure most of you guys know the whole anabolic stick, Hussein Farhart, Coach Greg, drama that's going on with fake nattyism and this and that. And to touch on that first, I always love to see Greg get called out. I've not been a fan of his. He's made a video on little old me in the past for calling him out. And to see just the hypocrisy, y'all saw my latest upload, kind of pointing out some of it. For him to, he thrives on natty or nots. And for somebody to prove themselves natty in his eyes, like with Matt Does Fitness, he had Matt Does Fitness, it was either 6 months or a year worth of random blood tests, urine tests, threw Derek with more plates, more dates, and had to maintain strength physique the whole time, etc.
And had to pay for it, right? Matt Does Fitness paid for it all, did he?
That I don't remember.
I think he paid for his own drug
Maybe
tests
he did.
too. So like, not only was it like stringent, but he also had to like basically pay.
Yeah.
To prove himself to Greg for in a long period of time.
And fun fact, Matt Does Fitness is the biggest channel that is subscribed to me. So that's other. Me and Matt sub for sub back when he was like under 1,000 subscribers. So what's up, Matt? Anyway, but yeah, and then for Hussein, I'm not one to do natty or nots. I don't do that stuff. His transformation is pretty wild, and for Greg to require that from somebody else, who was a national level triple jumper before he ever got into lifting. So you want to talk about like elite genetics, and to ask all of that, but for Hussein, for him just to say, oh yeah, he's definitely natty because elite genetics, and you know now he's my business partner or whatever. Pretty sus. So that specifically, I had to make note and comment on. As far as like generally speaking, just my general thoughts, is YouTube drama productive? It's for what? Is it productive for growing channels? Absolutely. I think everybody, especially now, who comes to prominence, even if it's not drama specific, you know, they're making reaction videos and coming up that way. You see a lot of the stitched videos on Instagram. And it's kind of a way, and I've been guilty of it too, even if I'm not going into some sort of like drama or call out, using a bigger person's name in a title or in a description or tagging them. It's cheap clicks. It'll get you cheap clicks. You have to have substance behind it at some point though, or people aren't going to stick around. For training, it's not perfect at all. Let's not kid ourselves. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that I was kind of, when I wrote this down, the things that I was kind of thinking about is like, obviously some of it can be super, super like toxic, and it can just be like this like cesspool of drama for drama's sake, just for clicks.
Yeah.
And obviously that can be super negative. Same thing with like natty or nots, what you said, like it's an interesting topic on whether or not they're productive or not, because on one hand you could say that you're outing people who are giving unrealistic expectations, but on the other side it's like, does that matter? Like, were the people who thought that Arnold was natural in the 80s and decided that they wanted to go to the gym, did that motivation, was that any less valid because they were never going to reach Arnold's look? And honestly, they weren't going to reach Arnold's look anyway because of genetics. So like,
I'm going to interrupt real quick because I grew up.
Yeah,
I was born in '85.
Yeah.
Athletes, strongmen, etc. I didn't know any of them were on drugs. I saw John Paul Sigmarsson, mentioned last video, my first like strength athlete that I looked up to because he looked like fucking He-Man. I just thought you lifted weights and you would look like that. So as far as like motivation, wanting to hit the gym, wanting to perform, you know, people like Mike Tyson back then, Michael Jordan, etc. Not saying any of these guys weren't, but I didn't know. Like, and some of the guys obviously were, looking back now. But I didn't fucking know. They were big and jacked and they lift weights. Yeah, and they played sports. So
and
I
got
wanted
you in
to
the
play
gym.
sports and
like,
lift
it was
weights.
positive.
Yeah, absolutely net positive in that specific
For
scenario.
sure. But it's like, yeah, but I mean, I think the argument a lot of times for that, specifically natty or nots, is like, we don't want to set these unrealistic expectations for natties. And then to kind of like extrapolate that out, it's like, if you finding out that someone's on drugs that you used to look up to is such a world-shifting occasion that you quit the gym because you don't think you can be that, like, what does that say about you?
Right.
I don't think that that's an issue with the natty or not. So like on the whole, you know, that's one side of like where call-out culture and call-out videos and YouTube drama can be negative, but then the other side, maybe the devil's advocate of this, can be things like, you know, what Derek and Zach did on the Liver King.
Right.
What people have done with Wes Watson. What people, I mean, arguably have done with Mitch Hooper. Now, I think that's a little bit different because, like, Wes Watson and the Liver King are, like, actively, like, lying to create profit.
Right.
But even with, like, a lesser extent, Mitch Hooper, I know a lot of people have decided that they're not going to support him or be a follower of him because of the choices he was made.
Right.
So, like, is that the other side where it's a positive, where you're actually investigative journalism, where you're, like, not exposing, but, like, telling the full story of people? So, like, obviously there's a positive and negative of everything, but, like, as a whole, like, were to, like, add up the pros and cons, kind of where do you sit with this call-out culture, with this YouTube drama stuff?
So, for me, speaking on the natty or nots first, because Mitch Hooper is a different sort of
For
thing.
sure.
So the natty or not stuff, as far as unrealistic expectations go, I'll edit that out. No, I won't. As far as unrealistic, I tried to throw him a softball.
Dude,
he didn't take it.
Sorry, I was drinking water. Dude. I think that okay. We're gonna try to start making Dennis edit because we didn't edit anything last year. So we're gonna have a cuss counter right, bing, fucking there. And then, whenever we're talking about Liver King, I'm sure we're going to have like videos of the Liver King being like, whoa, whoa, all in front of it.
The kids would say he's capping.
Dude, this thing's going to be super professional. Our editing is going to look great.
Anyway, as far as, I like unrealistic expectations. I shoot for the fucking moon, stars, whatever, any analogy you want to use. And if you fall short, you still got farther than you would have otherwise. And I think we see that just with the evolution of sports and humans in general. If you look at some of the drug tested totals now, and miss me with the drug tested doesn't mean drug free shit. There are some people who cheat, don't get me wrong, I'm not naive. There's also a lot of those people who actually are natural. But if you took some of the totals now, even just a decade ago, people would be like, oh, there's no way that this person's natty, or there's no way they could do this. They would even be, some of the drug tested totals now, would even be unbelievable on drugs, not that long ago. So I like unrealistic expectations, be it physique, be it strength, performance, whatever. I'm okay with that. The part that I don't like is the pimping of products, supplements, services, etc. when you've used illegal substances, in particular, to attain certain performances and physiques, but then you say, oh, my supplement, blah, 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 it helped me, I take that, and look at me now.
Do you think that actually gets anybody
yes,
anymore? Okay,
yes,
obviously we're in an echo chamber of like understanding YouTube and being in the gym. And
talk to a normie about diet, exercise, training. I saw somebody on my friends list ordering an organ supplement that's overpriced because it's marketed towards women. And organ supplements, you could say they have their place. They certainly do. But when you upcharge because it's marketed for women and it's really the same thing and you could get it for half the price. But yes, there are very uneducated people in the general population. Teenagers just getting into the gym, things of that nature. Yeah. If that wasn't an issue, like they would not be selling. Test boosters would not sell if people were educated. Test boosters don't do shit. If they make your free test levels go up by 100 points and you already have normal test levels, guess what? You still have normal fucking test levels. You're not going to see any improvement in the gym. So yes, there's that snake oil shit still works. Liver King, there's obviously, we know he wasn't natty. He was never natty. But there were a lot of people out there that were following his lifestyle and his tenets based on his physique and what he was presenting outwardly. And everybody isn't in our echo chamber. Right. So that's the side I don't like. And it comes down to there are some legalities, and I understand why some people don't want to say that they are on. I would prefer that just don't say anything. Be quiet about it and don't say, oh, my supplement, this is how I got my physique. And so that I don't like.
So would you say, I don't mean to cut
you. Go ahead.
Would you say then and this is obviously kind of a straw man question, but would you say then that anybody that's on steroids should never be a spokesperson for a supplement company? No. That gets kind of weird, you know what I mean? No. What else are bodybuilders going to sell?
Right.
Or should they not sell programs?
Here's the thing. I'll go back to when I was young and impressionable and muscle magazines.
For sure.
Marcus Rule, the ultimate freak.
Tuna fish.
Yeah, that. But if you looked at the back of those muscle mags, he was selling whey protein, and this added 15 pounds of muscle to me in 3 months and tastes just like chocolate ice cream. And the whey protein back then tasted like cardboard with a hint of raw cocoa powder. There was nothing chocolate ice cream, so it didn't taste good. And obviously it wasn't gonna put 15 pounds of pure muscle on you. But you didn't know any better,
Right.
And now looking back, it's obvious. Dude was on all the gear. But yeah, so there's a fine line there.
Of course.
I don't mind them like pimping supplements, but don't say like say I take this and it helps me with my goals. Not I gained 15 pounds of muscle in 1 month or 2 months or whatever with this supplement. Like Coach Greg, when he started selling his testosterone, he said it put 4 pounds of muscle on him in a month. And like, bro, you've been training how many years? You're extremely advanced. You're not. Nothing is putting 4 pounds of muscle on you in a month, short of like an ultra high dose of HGH and trin and whatever. That part I don't like.
For sure.
But yeah, like, and it's a lot of the supplements now, like pre-workouts and hydration supplements are really popular now. Whey proteins are always a staple. Amino acids, for those of you who want to throw away your money on amino acids. Sell it, smile, white teeth, Photoshop, abs, to enhance the already good look, whatever. I don't care about that a whole lot, but attributing these supplements to this gave me that, that part, I'm not cool.
And then to extrapolate, calling those people out for what they're doing is the positive part of call-out culture.
Yeah, like letting people who are uneducated or just getting into the sphere know that, like, look, bro, I know you might think this and this is what they advertise, but realistically, even if you don't say directly, they probably are doing this, and they definitely can't attribute their physique to any one given supplement. I think we all know that. Like, even it takes a combination of training and diet and sleep, and there's so many more things going into it. As far as Mitch Hooper, to roughly transition into that, stones from glass houses. When you're going to make yourself a public figure like he has, and especially with his brand Lift Heavy Be Kind, and it gets really messy. So you better make sure that if you are going to comment on those sorts of matters when it happens to your colleagues, and you are going to comment on it in a demeaning way and calling them out for behaviors that you were probably already engaged in, just the public didn't know. More often than not, that shit's going to come to light at some point. So it makes Mitch look like a giant hypocrite. From a personal standpoint, like I said, especially with his brand, and him going so hard at Luke, that makes it sting even worse than it probably should have. But he's put himself out there. That's what he does, and these things are, we've seen it happen time and time again.
Yeah. Did you see the way that he gave his statement about the situation too?
I did.
Where he did the that you pay $0 to read my statement and then I get your email for my funnel.
Ooh, I did not see that.
That's what he did. Yeah. So like, if you wanted to get the statement of him speaking about it, it was basically I didn't put my email in. I found it on Strongman Reddit. Shout out. But so you would go through. He posted a story. It's like, what's been happening?
Yeah, I saw his story.
And you click it, and it goes to his website in the shop of his Lift Heavy Be Kind, and then you pay $0 to get access to the PDF that gave the official statement, so that you could be in his email funnel.
Oh my gosh.
That's where you're like,
oh, I say this is brand new to me. I'm just now hearing about this.
Yeah, so like, not only did you like not do a great thing, like every step of the way was not great. Obviously, you call out Luke beforehand when you're, again, like you said, he's probably doing what he was talking about. And a lot of people say, like, people call other people out on stuff that they're already doing because it's in their brain.
Right.
So he calls out Luke, not great, puts a big riff in the sport. Then obviously things come out where he's not being a good boy. And then the fallout and the way that he handled it with that specifically really didn't look like you were that sorry.
That's slimy, dude, to try to, profit off of
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't paying for it, but like indirectly.
Yeah, but you're getting people on an email list. He's. Oh man, that is grimy.
Hard to
grimy.
feel bad about for somebody when you do something like that.
Yeah, and speaking of, do you think that bled into his World's Strongest Man performance, or do you think that was just Tom is really good at World's Strongest Man, that's his competition, and then Reno performed well, had great events there, or combination of both a little bit?
Undoubtedly, I think that it had to have affected him. The numbers that he was hitting in the gym were not even close to what he hit at World's Strongest Man, especially in the 2 feet in the ground type lifts.
Right.
The deadlift, with the overhead press, some things like the Hercules hold, he really dropped the ball on, which is a very much a concentration thing.
Right.
And in his recap, he's like, this was the first competition ever that I did not want to be there at all.
Right.
I mean, I think that it's almost impossible.
Of course, there was a little bit of the drama beforehand of him calling out World's Strongest Man with how they handle their athletes and their payouts and stuff.
Yeah, he was really like the talk of the town for like 3 months. And again, like I think that, like you said, like it's kind of glass houses. If you're going to be the person that's going to be very vocal about things. With Luke, obviously that was very ironic, but then also just like you're calling everybody out in the space and you're going to be the holier than thou guy, you're going to make some enemies. And then when you fall, they're going to get really, really loud.
I don't know if you're familiar with Andrew Hiller.
Yes.
You are.
Mm-hmm.
Good. He's been posting hate from Chicago on a lot of Mitch's Instagram videos.
Yeah,
because Mitch did the love from where, or somebody did the love from Denver. I can't remember where it stemmed from, but Hiller's been posting hate from Chicago on Mitch's videos. Which his beef with Mitch came, Mitch commented on something to do with CrossFit.
Yeah, some dude who was a commentator of CrossFit said, which I don't dislike Mitch's take, but it was basically this dude was like, yeah, strongman girls are ugly and men.
I remember,
and then Mitch was like, bad take, bro. Like, you're kind of a douchebag. And then Hiller was trying to, like, defend this CrossFit guy. Listen.
Like, I'm...
You can have that opinion.
Right.
There's no reason to be like, oh, man. Yeah. Like, it's kind of a played out joke.
Right.
And, this is another topic.
And being around this, some people are into that shit.
For sure.
You know what? Everybody, beauty is the eye of the beholder, and that's the truth.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's already hard enough to get girls in the gym.
Right, yeah.
To be like, hey, listen, like, if you do one push-up, you're not going to be Marcus Rule tomorrow.
Right.
So, like, maybe not the most productive.
I'm trying to get as bulky as women think they are going to get, and I've been doing this for over a decade.
I wish I could do this. I wish it worked like that. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, it kind of put a bow in this, because we've been talking about the YouTube drama for a minute and a half. Yeah, I think that... as a whole, it has its place in the space because there has to be some accountability for people. I think that it's something that just you kind of have to be wary of, and I think that also as a consumer, you have to kind of for me personally, I have to kind of limit the amount that I get into that stuff. Just
I do the same.
It can get into a toxic headspace where you get super cynical.
Right. I honestly, if I'm on YouTube these days, it's usually I'm listening to a podcast or a Game of Thrones fan theory when I'm doing my cardio, or I watch car videos. For those of you who've been around know, I'm kind of in my other foot's in car culture. So I which can also be equally as toxic, if not more. But yeah, with the YouTube drama, it's funny that I even came across the whole anabolic stick thing. I was actually watching Zach Tellender did a video recently with Greg, and Greg mentioned he had his integrity, and I went searching for old video clips because I wanted to make my meme video as soon as I heard him say that.
No, I can't stop thinking about South Park. Insert clip here.
But looking for old Greg clips led me to that anabolic stick video because it's trending right now. When I punched in Greg Doucette's name for the search, that's what came up. And we had drama as a topic, and I was like, oh shit, we were going to just talk generally on drama, but now there's something specific recent happening, and this kid went from like 300 subscribers to like 16,000 subscribers in less than a week over drama.
Yeah.
And
it works.
Yeah, it definitely still works. Now, like, we'll see, do people hang around? Do people hang on? Does he have more to follow up with? Does he turn into a drama channel and feed there are some of those that do hang around, and then we've seen some of those. Most of them are, flash in the pan and then they fizzle out because eventually, it plays itself out. But we've dwelled on this for a while. Let's move along. So failing lifts in the gym, is it okay or not? The floor is yours.
Okay, so yeah, I put this down just because obviously we're from two different sports. We're also from two very different training methodologies.
Absolutely.
Have we told people? I guess they know how you train.
Yeah. I'm kind of a Western block linear. Now, since I've not been focused on powerlifting, I've been incorporating a lot more generalized conjugate issues sneaking its way into some of my training. But yeah, typically like powerlifting wise, when I was full focused, full bore, y'all know I was Western block linear periodization. Ty is a Louis disciple.
That's right. Yeah, I'm a Louis bot. I watched West Side vs. the World last night. I actually did. I thought it was funny. I was supposed to have plans to go out, and my friends kind of like last second, we were like, man, I don't want to go out. And I was like, what does every red-blooded American need to do on a Friday night? They need to watch West Side vs. the World for the 800th time. But yeah, I do conjugate for strongmen specifically. And yeah, I think that, I think it's a good topic. My kind of opening argument and stance is that I think that failing lifts in the gym is fine and can actually be helpful in some situations, because I'm not afraid to fail a lift. I'm not afraid of 1 rep maxes. And that's a little bit more going into just like conjugate in general, because you're exposed to those things all the time. You're exposed to failing all the time. So like I
think strongman too.
You're gonna fail events a lot. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that you have to like get people prepared when they do their first show, is that it's not uncommon to zero an event. If you go by Brian Shaw's logic, a third should zero, a third should get 1 or 2, and a third should destroy an event. I think that lends more towards the pros and maybe not towards a local show where people are scared to death to fail an event. Right. But yeah, I think that, I think there's no problem with failing, and we're talking strictly strength. Hypertrophy, totally
obviously,
conversation.
Yeah.
But we're talking strength. But yeah, I think that failing lifts in the gym is not a big deal at all. I think that you have to jump over the line to know where the line is, especially when you're talking about something like RPE. If you don't know what an RPE 10 is, then there's no way for you to calculate an 8. And if all you ever did for your entire life is 8s, who knows what a 10 is? So I think that finding that line is helpful for those two reasons. One, to kind of calculate just like how hard am I training? And two, I think it desensitizes you. Because if you never fail an attempt, like the first time that you're getting close to weights that are at that, I would be nervous. Because you're just like, it's a new stimulus, it's a new experience. That one rep ends up feeling like it means much more. So that's kind of my stance on it. Talk to me about your stance and kind of your past with your training.
Okay, so coming from a block linear standpoint, you want to never fail reps in the gym. If you failed reps, your programming's bad. Point blank period. So to kind of your point to, knowing what failing is, knowing what an RPE 10 is, you should figure that out when you're kind of in that middle late beginner stage. You should feel some failure. You should fail a rep or 2 here or there. It's gonna happen because you don't know what the fuck you're doing yet.
Right.
Once you're kind of in that intermediate stage, moving on up, again, if you're doing a block linear type periodization, if you end up failing a rep, it's because of bad programming. A lot of linear periodizations, like cookie cutter programs, based around Prilepin's chart, that did come from Olympic lifting, but it still lends its hand very well into the power lifts. I think for bench press, it leaves a little volume to be desired, but for squats and deadlifts, I think it's pretty on the money. So a failed rep is bad motor patterns being ingrained into you. It's detracting from your confidence. You really shouldn't be failing reps ever other than third attempts in competition, maybe, is where you should fail. You don't have to lift 100% weights to be able to lift 100% weights.
Sure.
You can touch 85, 90, 92, 95% in your prep. And honestly, if you're doing a block linear type prep, a lot of people test their openers. That's not even necessary, but that's something I also like to do. And I don't call it testing because you're not fucking testing your openers. If you have to test your opener's too fucking high. You should know I'm going to hit my goddamn opener. If you don't know if you're going to hit your opener or not, you fucked up your whole prep and everything. You have to hit lifts in competition to score. So it does detract from your confidence to miss lifts in the system. They're unproductive, and most of my lifts, talking exclusively for powerlifting, I really don't even like to hit grinders. Most lifts should be clean. Obviously, bar speed is going to slow down some as you get heavier into those heavier percentages, but you shouldn't be losing body position. Every now and then mistakes are going to happen. Nobody's going to be perfect. But again, if your programming is good, you're never going to be so heavy that a minor, misgroove or whatever you want to call it is going to cause you to fail the lift. You should hit every lift. And, probably my last 5 years or so of being fully engrossed in the powerlifting, injuries aside, I missed 1 or 2 lifts total in training. And, more often than not, I was 7 for 9 or better in my meets. And that's kind of where you'd let it hang out. And I would even go back retroactively looking now as somebody who is older. I would say early on in your meets, don't even let it all hang out. Like, be conservative. You're not setting the world on fire with those early totals anyway. And a lot of the local meets, you're in your own weight class, your own division. You don't have direct competition. And at a local meet, maybe you're going for best lifter, maybe you're not, but almost nobody is watching those formulas. If you're competing locally, you probably don't even know how the formulas work. So I would even play those more conservatively, even in competition. I like Ed Cohn's philosophy. He said you only have so many truly maximal death grinder RPE 12s in you in a lifetime, so use them sparingly. As I've gotten a little bit older and hip to other training styles, I do incorporate some lifts with my lifters that I coach that can be a little grindy.
I think it's a skill. I think it's a skill to know how to grind.
To grind.
You need to be able to
But I don't do them with the competition lifts.
Fair. Okay.
I use variations.
Cool, because
they typically put you in a safer position.
Yeah.
To learn how to grind through, because I don't want them performing bad technical reps on the competition lifts.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I think that learning how to be patient in a grind is a unique skill, and if you're not acclimated to it, you're gonna say, "Oh, I hit a sticking point. Take it."
Right.
So learning how to grind. I mean, even the fact of being able to hold your breath longer.
Yeah.
In a grind, that's part of learning how to grind reps. I mean, learning how to, if you do slightly miss grooves. I mean,
now that's
something that if you're walking the razor's edge and you can never get that much out of a groove, and maybe we're talking about not. We can talk about competition lifts or not competition lifts, but if you fall out of the groove or you just, I mean, at that point you're in a bench shirt where you have to be in one groove or you're done and you're gonna dump it. So to me, and this is kind of more on the philosophy as a whole is how I train, and that's why I do conjugate, because I want to be generally strong in a lot of different movement patterns, and that's why conjugate
I think
gets there. So like,
I think that makes a lot more sense for strongman
for
than
sure,
powerlifting.
for sure. I want to be able to like not have a movement pattern or a body positioning where I'm so detrained that if I get to that spot because I get hairy, especially with strongman, that I'm going to either hurt myself or not be strong there. So like, but as you said, I mean, our events are so not specific,
Right.
that it's like most of the time if you're just like big and low IQ strong, you're gonna do okay.
That's the same in powerlifting too.
Yeah.
As long as you're fucking strong. Like,
Yeah.
A 600-pound, not technically proficient squat that gets 2 white lights beats a 500-pound picture perfect textbook squat with 3 whites every fucking time.
Yeah. So being able to just like, I don't know, I feel like you're building your base wider of like how much wiggle room you have that increases the likelihood that you're going to hit something if you're able to be strong in those positions. And I think the only way you're going to be able to be strong in those positions is if you're in them often, to be able to like recorrect. Like if you're not like even just like in a squat, like being able to feel out a squat. Like feel out a grinder where like you can be like coming down in a squat and you're slightly on your toes, but you've been in that type of heavy weight enough that you can like kind of shift as you're coming down, because you have so much proprioception. If you're just hitting rippers all the time, like you never feel that, and you don't understand how to like work your way through a lift as opposed to just like bam, like I just hit a smoke. So I guess that's kind of like, I think that's a skill that has to be developed. But like you said, like I think that if you're leaving, and then obviously this is another just like a just kind of like how you think about training and how you think about competing. If you're leaving enough every time on the platform, I don't want to say leaving enough because this has a negative connotation, but like you're picking your attempts to the point where everything's a smoke show, then I guess you never need to be there.
Well, I don't think everything doesn't need to be a smoke show, but you don't need these pie in the sky like, and it's hard sometimes because sometimes you think something there and it's not there. Yeah. But I think with smart attempt selection, you should never miss seconds. Yeah. With smart attempt selection. Now if you're at the level where you're competing with direct head-to-head competition and their attempts and makes or misses dictate what your attempts are going to be, that's completely different. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking to the hobbyist now.
For sure.
You should never miss a second. Mistakes happen, but you should never miss a second attempt. And again, I would even say early on, you probably shouldn't be missing thirds. My whole thing is third deadlift. My lifters, I want them to be 6 for 6 going into deadlifts, hit their first 2 deadlifts, and I won't even call a third for them. I'll say, I'll put YOLO on the paper. Like, third is YOLO. Like, we've built the total. You've hit your numbers you need for your goal total just with your seconds, and your thirds on squat and bench that you 99% of the time they're hitting. So your third deadlift, let it hang out, do whatever you want to do.
Meat doesn't start until the bar hits the floor.
But I'm a big fan of the Russian style of fucking picture perfect clean reps every fucking time, which is unrealistic, but mm-hmm. That should be the goal that you're striving for. Even when you get into the upper percentages, and you're naturally within that, when you start hitting those 90s, 92s, 95s, you are going to have some misgrooves from time to time, and you're going to be exposed to some of that.
Yeah.
But the goal is to not. The goal is to not. The goal is to make everything look clean. And
no, I don't go.
But I do now. Like I
hope I fail a lift.
Right. But like I was saying, now I've seen that there is something to the grindings, but I will use variations specifically for that. I still will maintain that for powerlifting competition lifts, I want every one of them to be picture perfect. Again, that's not realistic. There are going to be mistakes. We all make mistakes. But the goal is for them all to look smooth and clean. all the way up until we get to, like super maximal weights. And, then there's
Right.
some wishy-washiness that comes. That said, speaking on training, what do we feel about group training versus training solo? I know we used to have a crew at Iron Mayhem before you got there. We all kind of, yeah, the good old days. And back then, Iron Mayhem was a little bit more hardcore and a little bit more merit-based, and whoever had the biggest total got to pick the music. So when I first got there, Jordan out-totaled me, so I had to listen to fucking Metal and Five Finger Fruit Punch and all that stuff. Boy, as soon as that number on the board beat Jordan, I was like, all right, boys, we're listening to 2 Chainz and Cardi B. Now, obviously, we would give leeway if somebody was going for a PR, like, hey, can I change the music? We weren't dicks about it, but for the overall session, and it didn't matter who was already there, what was already playing. If somebody else walked in and had a bigger number, you could go change the stereo, and that's just the way it was. It was fun times. But
I don't know what even plays music. Everyone wears headphones in our gym,
right.
and I walk in and it's silent, and it just sounds. It's so strange. And I'm like, I guess I'm playing the music today.
Right.
So now my Apple replay is just all metal because it's I have the aux every day, even though that's not what I listen to all the time. So.
Right. So now you usually train with at least a partner.
Yes.
So what are your have you ever trained by yourself exclusively, or have you always had at least a training partner?
Yeah, well, when I got to Mayhem, it was by myself because everyone thought I trained weird. No one wanted to talk to me. I was a weird guy that just is in the corner. When I first started training, I was really into giant sets for a while. It was almost
I'm a big fan of giant sets.
It was almost it wasn't circuit training, but it was. If anyone knows who Brian Alsrew is,
most of the people who
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Very much subscribed to kind of his style of training of doing giant sets. So it was a main movement, the antagonistic movement, and then an ab variation, and then sometimes a conditioning thing. So 3 to 4 movements. So bench, row, oblique,
right,
something. So when I was doing that, no one wanted to train with me because it's a powerlifting gym and no one wants to do abs and no one wants to sweat or breathe hard. So I started.
Our crew always did core at the end, which it's ironic, but we were long dissolved when Ty got there.
Yeah, so I trained for quite a bit by myself. And I think there's positives and negatives, and now I do have a training partner, and then also Saturdays, we have strongman Saturdays,
right.
So a bigger crew ends up there on Saturdays. We're not all directly doing the same thing, but we're training at the same time,
right.
So you kind of get that group dynamic. And I think there's positives and negatives. I think that I like to do bodybuilding training by myself.
That makes sense.
I like to put my headphones in.
Yep.
I like to wear a hat so I can pull it low over my eyes. I like to drink a lot of pre-workout, and I like to feel like a psychopath. And just do my thing, and just worry about the mind-muscle connection, not talk to anybody, just kind of let it all hang out.
Right.
Strength training, I like to have at least a partner, if not a group. I wish I had a training crew.
Dude, it was amazing.
But no one wants to get up at 6. So I can't. None of the young strongmen at Mayhem. I'm calling you guys all out. Start waking up early and train with me.
And by the time Ty gets to the gym, I'm doing my
He's
cardio
already done,
routine.
yeah.
I'm the boomer.
He's the super early crew. The only person I can get to train with me at 6 a.m. is my training partner, Chris. But yeah, especially for training for strength, I think that it helps a lot with, it can get competitive.
That part.
100%. Obviously for conjugate, it's the entire time, but for you guys, it was much more accessories, right?
Right.
Where you guys would get super competitive with that.
So yeah, we would typically we'd all do the same main movement on the same day, be it squat, bench, or deadlift or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we all trained together. There was a 148. There was me at 308. When Dustin came along, he was 275, 308. Jordan, very strong, 220, 242. We had a 181. Drew was a 242, 275. He was decently strong too. But we all trained together. We all loaded, unloaded plates for each other as we went. there's no, like, the rest time is dictated by changing the plates.
Mhm.
So
That's
that
what we run to.
that's cool about it.
You trade sets.
And then within it, there was, me, Jordan, and Dustin, depending upon the lift, there would be some competition on the main lift. And then, there's like Drew and Cody were kind of competitive. They were around the same strength level. And then our 148 was there.
Present.
I love you, Matt. But anyway, when we got to accessories, it would become competitive, and it might start by, and we would figure it out as we go. We'd do deadlifts and then say, hey, let's do hamstring curls or RDLs or whatever, and we'd set the bar, and Jordan would do a set of 20, I'd do a set of 21, Dustin would do a set of 22, and now everybody's trying to one up each other, or I'm gonna slide a 10 on the end of it and match his set but with more weight, and you end up getting more work done. We come up with games, like we played deadlift knockout, where we'd put like 315 on the bar or 405. It was just kind of the stronger guys. Everybody does a rep and then cycle around. Everybody does 2 reps, cycle around. Everybody does 3, and then first person to fail a rep is out, and you keep going until everybody was out. And holy fuck, would you get lit up? And that pushing each other, and even like if you listen to Dave Tate talk about some of the West Side stories, they weren't doing the fucking program that was written down. They were in there trying to fucking kill each other, and they would end up doing, their 8x3 or whatever dynamic work would turn into fucking 20x3.
Let's work it up.
Yeah, and they just try to gas each other out and kill each other.
Yeah.
And that environment, there has to be a little bit of structure. But if you're working hard and you've got that environment and you're constantly trying to one up each other, that's going to bleed over, and you're going to one up yourself by the sake of that. And that's what I miss about training with a crew.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would rather have a crew and a loosely structured program than the most perfect, pick the highest IQ level coach, be it Josh Bryant, Joey Flex, whoever, and have their program individually tailored to my every need, but train solo. I feel like I would make more progress with the crew scenario, just by the sake of the competitiveness with each other and the environment and going hard.
Yeah, there's just a different energy. And I mean, it just brings it out of you. I mean, it's so easy when you're doing...
You get like a 10% boost in strength and stamina just by virtue of being around everybody.
And it's just so easy to be like, oh, I don't have it today. When you're by yourself.
Absolutely.
To be like, you know what, 405 is good enough. Whatever, if you're, what it is,
I'm not going to do my face pulls today.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's so easy to do. And so I think that that's so important. And,
that crew holds you accountable.
For sure.
Like, nah, motherfucker, we are doing weighted planks today.
Yeah.
And you are going to do it for over a minute. We're not going to pull that shit off you until you get it done.
100%. And I think that, I think strongman still has that crew dynamic built into the culture, especially at least once a week, because strongman Saturdays are so popular.
Yeah, that's the thing about the gyms.
But
and a lot of powerlifters are training solo now.
I was going to say, it seems like, just from outside looking in, that powerlifting,
the gear necessitated.
Obviously,
you have to have
if you're in gear still, you're still in crew.
You can train raw by yourself. As long as you got racks with safety features, you're fine.
Yeah, and so what do you think that's what do you think that's done to the strength of the lifters, and 2, what do you think that's done to the culture of powerlifting as a whole now that everyone trains solo?
So the strength is still going up.
Yeah.
I think that's just part of human evolution itself.
Are the best guys training by themselves?
A lot of them are.
Really?
A lot of
do they
really
just,
good lifters
just
are
grab,
training solo.
oh, can you come spot me type of thing?
Well, I mean, Jesus is squatting 1,000 pounds with no spotters.
Yo, that dude's wild.
And that's not something I would do.
No.
I squat. Well, I take that back. If I was 1,000 pound capable, I would do it, but in a rack. He's doing it out of an ER combo rack.
Combo?
Yeah, with no, and again, I'm not going to tell him to do it otherwise. I'm not going to criticize. Not my place. That's not what I'm doing.
Well, when you're him, you can just dump the bar and no one's going to say anything.
I just worry, and I hope nothing bad happens to him, but if you were to cop an injury, your back blows out or something, and you can't dump it, and that's, holding you up. That's... But anyway,
scary.
There's a lot of great lifters who are training solo. I think social media, it's not the same as training with a crew at all, but it does bring out a little bit of that competitive, and it's kind of a bridge, kind of a meet in the middle where, you'll see, like me and Michael Bales, for example, we went back and forth for some years, and most of it was on social media. Every now and then I'd go down there to Maxed Out Gym and train with him and the crew down there. But we would compare, lifts and make memes about each other and stuff. And so there can be that on social media. It's not the same as in person.
Right.
But again, it kind of bridges the gap. So I think that helps a lot. And with posting, you get to see these really strong, really elite individuals, and it enhances your perception of what is possible.
100%.
I remember watching a video of Tank Abbott benching 600 pounds. Now, it was the rowest, sternum bounce, ass coming off the bench, 600-pound bench press. But it was a dude who had a similar build to me, wasn't like jacked out of his mind looking crazy individual in his own right, don't get me wrong. But I was like, man, I want to do that one day. And that made it look realistic. Now, I didn't quite get there, but 550 is still pretty good. And Tank was a little saucy, even though he wasn't, bodybuilder jacked.
Right.
He was on the Mexican supplements. But seeing that now, and I think that's enhanced, and that also, maybe that's a topic we'll touch on another day, has, pros and cons of seeing only the elite, because that's what's highlighted, and not seeing, when you go into a normal average gym and you squat 405, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God!
People turn around.
Yeah, whereas for us, that's like, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%, especially as somebody like me who the lightweight strongman class is the least popular.
Right.
And
Fucking
we don't...
nerds eat some food.
Yeah, exactly. Little twinks. Victim weight.
Go do CrossFit.
And then also, like, just... Yeah, there's no lightweights around here either. Like when we do, I really can't do the shows that our gym puts on because I will be by myself.
Right.
Or they'll
group you.
Or they group me in. They'll make like last time they made like a novice it was his first show, and he was like 165 pounds soaking wet.
Oh man.
And I was like, this is gonna be bad. So like I can't do a lot. So there's nobody around that's a 175. So for me to like compare, I have to look to social media. So like I've got my buddy Cody Abel. He's a pro strongman. Yeah, he won the Arnold's at 80 kg this year. He's a great dude from Virginia, World's Strongest Tattoo Tour. Follow him. He's a great guy. He's my bar because I don't have anything else to compare to. It's either that or chase the guys that are fatter than me and try to outbench them too, which is fun. I have been doing that lately. That's been a good time to be like, you're 100 pounds heavier than me and I'm still stronger than you. But yes, people like that. People like Slater Strength is in my hometown where they build all of the best logs and all of the best stones. Steve Slater, like I know Steve like really well. We go to the same church when I'm back home. So like going there, he lets me train when I'm at home with those guys, and those guys are on a totally different level than anybody that's here in like Mayhem or just in our area. So being able to follow those guys and follow along with them, it just like brings something out of you. I mean, the first time I trained there, I PR'd my 18-inch deadlift and PR'd my my split jerk on the axle, and PR'd my stone with chalk. So like. Atmosphere is different.
Yep.
And just being around guys that are like, that doesn't mean anything. Like 255 overhead is nothing. I don't care that you're 175 pounds. It should be 300. Get the weight up, pussy.
Right.
Like that is so beneficial. So like obviously in person, but also being able to see those guys over social media, like you said, to just be like, this is the bar. So like when people are like, dude, you're so strong. I'm just like, no. Like you don't know the company I keep.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So it just like it always keeps you pushing, and it's never affected me negatively. I know that it can affect the other people negatively. We can talk again. I think that's a totally different podcast where we talk about that. But all it does is just set the goal to where like higher.
Even like my first night at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, one of the very 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 good blue belts. He should probably be a purple belt. Just had his way with me, and he weighs 170 pounds, and there was nothing I could do with him. And that's, some people may quit, like, oh, this ain't for me. I was like, fuck, I really need to learn this. If this dude that's half my size can fucking do whatever he wants with me, and there's nothing I can do about it, that's I can't have that.
It's just what's possible.
Yeah,
it's like, he's a man. He's made of the same stuff I am.
Yeah.
So if he can do it, I can at least get close.
Yeah, a 19-year-old, 170-pound man.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, so I think we're going to cap this off. We've been going longer than last time, and well, do you guys like longer episodes? It's something we can work around. You guys tell us. We're certainly open to feedback. This is only episode number 2. White monsters, overhyped or legit? And I'll let you talk. I think I've got a unique twist on this.
So I am convinced that the white monster craze is more meme than it is reality. It's the same persona that we talked about last week that bothers me, where it's like they're in their 40s and they're tell everybody that they don't lift hard, and now that it's cool to be like, yo, Creed and White Monsters, bro, like they found out that like kids think Zins are cool, and they're like, oh yeah, like me too, and it's just like all of this just like trying desperately to feel young. I think White Monsters are fine. I think that's like, they're good, I guess, but like now I think we have way better options. Now I know that there was a time where those didn't exist, and so I'm kind of showing my age. Like by the time that I was getting into the gym, like Ghost had started doing the energy drinks and everything like that. So like I was drinking those going to baseball games in college. So like it's always been an option to have what I think is a way better energy drink. But I still think that like, so if there are better options, I think at this point it is mostly meme. But I know that I have a very narrow point of view. You talk to me about the old dark ages.
Okay,
when all that was available was the black can and the white can.
Okay, so this I am going back to even before that. I agree that a lot of it now is meme, and meme hype is fucking. It is what it is. The internet takes something and just blasts it to the moon. Back when I was a wee young man, about 19 years old, circa 2005, I was working at Best Buy, and we had, I don't know, I think they're still around. They're called Full Throttle.
I've seen that.
I think it's a Coke product. Anyway, they're full sugar and a lot of sugar. That was kind of the thing with the early energy drinks back then, was like, let's put a fuck ton of sugar in them and a little bit of caffeine. We know now that like more caffeine, less sugar, the way to go. But and then they came out with this blue agave flavor. Still to this day, in my opinion, the GOAT energy drink flavor. And again, these are more in line with like a Mountain Dew soda. It doesn't taste like Mountain Dew, of course, but that caffeine level, but just a lot of sugar. So they were extra delicious. But that's where I come from. And then Red Bull came along, and then Monster, and like you had the full sugar Monster, and then I think they call it low carb Monster, which was the black with the blue label. The green label was full sugar, and the blue label was like low carb, and it was like 20 calories or something. The energy drinks back then tasted medicinal.
Yeah.
All of them did.
The green can still taste like battery acid.
Yeah. and that was the one with sugar. And the sugar-free even more so. So when the White Monster came around, it was like the first sugar-free, not asshole-tasting energy drink. And the early hype was real. Like when those first came out, like, holy, White Monster, you got a White Monster, White Monster, White Monster, White Monster. And then I think like the red and orange came next, maybe. But yeah, it was the first. It was a trendsetter. I think it has its place on the pantheon of OG energy drinks. I do agree that there are better options now. I still think it's a solid choice. I think they're good. I don't think you can go wrong with White Monster.
If you're in an airport where there's not other options, there's always a White Monster.
And I've mentioned before on my channel, but if you go to Kroger, if you guys are local to a Kroger, they have a sugar-free white grapefruit soda. You can get the 2 liters. They're 4 for $5. It tastes very much like a White Monster, and it's caffeine-free. So if you're an old guy like me and you stop drinking caffeine at noon, but you still want like a carbonated beverage, It tastes almost exactly like a white Monster.
I'm gonna have to do that, yeah. Because like I'm the same thing. I quit caffeine at noon because I will just stay up, and it's always like you're like in the afternoon. You're just like, I just want something.
Yeah.
You know, I've been drinking water all day. Like
it's
I want something with some carbonation
caffeine free, and it's the grapefruit flavor.
Yeah.
It tastes like a white Monster.
That might be it.
But that said, we do have better options now. So I want to know, those of you that are still around, what is your favorite flavor of energy drink? Can be full sugar or sugar free.
What's yours?
Shit, I don't know, man. Like those new Gorilla Mind drinks that we've been having at the gym, those are really good. I was really impressed with their strawberry one. I think it's kind of up there already. If you would have asked me a couple years ago, the Cotton Candy Bang. But it doesn't taste the same anymore.
Cotton candy.
I'm a sucker for cotton candy. Cotton candy flavored things, bubblegum flavored things. I remember I bought a pre-workout called Meth Lab.
Nice.
Exclusively because it came in bubblegum flavor. But yeah, I like the really sweet flavored ones. I do like some of the citrus stuff too. But like the Grill of Mine, the new ones, they're really good. There's just so many that come out so often. I like the cherry candy. What's the one with the fucking deer on it? Bucked Up.
Bucked Up.
The cherry candy flavor one of that's really good. As far as Monsters, I like the lime green one. That's my favorite. Like the tropical whatever.
Yeah.
That's my favorite by far and away. What about you?
I'm a hoe for anything that's blue raspberry.
Blue raspberry is another solid
C4
choice.
is my favorite blue raspberry.
Have you tried the Gorilla Mind one, the blue raspberry one?
I've seen it in the gym.
Yeah.
I never get anything at the gym because always
Do you not?
they're more expensive than.
Yeah, I agree.
They're more expensive than the.
But I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I don't think Bumpy's gonna see this, but no offense, Bumpy, but they're more expensive than if you stop at the gas station 4 seconds away from the gym. Yeah, blue raspberries. I like a lot of the sour flavors. I'm more of a sour than I am a sweet when it comes to energy drinks.
Now I like
all
the sour ones
the
too.
sour ones from Ghost, which I think like all the Warheads ones have been discontinued because Ghost got bought by somebody. So like all of the
sour apple,
all the collabs are like they don't do them anymore.
Gotcha. The sour apple I really like as far as sour ones go. I think, and I'm a sucker for apple flavored sodas too. So that probably has a little bit to do with it there.
Mm-hmm. Let us know. What's your favorite flavor? Put it down in the comments.
Yeah, we want to hear from you guys. We've been going over an hour now. I think that's going to cap it. That's all we had for this week. As long as nothing out of the ordinary happens, I think we plan on shooting another one next Saturday. And I'm going to upload this one tomorrow instead of Monday. I'm going to see, maybe Sunday morning, you guys doing your cardio, finishing up at the gym, see if you like it a little better on Sunday. And that also gives it more room to breathe before the Wednesday upload of Large Lads. So make sure you guys check that out too. And that's a wrap. Peace.
Oh man,
Another one in the books. Turn off. It's not reading my finger.
No.
Y'all are getting bonus content.
You're gonna have to edit.
I'm not gonna edit.